For the iron and copper sulfate introductory lab. And so anyway, I don't want that. Okay, so anyway, what we're trying to do is, in the lab that we're going to do, is we're going to try to figure out how iron reacts with copper sulfate. But before we do all the math for that, we're just going to do a practice problem here. And so one of the key things to know is when you see a balanced chemical equation, the numbers in front, like this 4 right here, the 3 there, and the 2 there, those stand for moles, okay? So this could be like 4 moles of iron plus 3 moles of oxygen makes 2 moles of iron 3 oxide. Well, let's pretend that we could do a reaction between copper and silver nitrate. And so we're trying to figure out which equation actually happens. Okay, so we can use the experimental data to figure that out. So let's say we put 5 grams of copper in a beaker, and then we have an empty beaker, then we add some silver nitrate to it, and then we stir it up, and there's a chemical reaction, and the copper turns to copper nitrate, and silver metal comes out of that. And so at the end, you could pour all the liquid out, and then you would be left with just silver in the beaker. So what we're going to do first is find the mass of the silver in the beaker. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 69.0, and we're going to subtract 52.0, and that's going to equal 17.0 grams. Okay, go to the next page. Now that's the grams of silver. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the moles of silver. So we're just going to rely on our mole problems that we learned. So we're going to start off with 17 grams of silver, and then we're going to change it to moles. So 1 mole silver. We look up the molar mass of silver on the periodic table, and it's like 107.8 grams silver. And if we do the math, and with a little bit of rounding, you're going to get 0.15, that's supposed to be a 5, 0.158 moles of silver. Now, since we know that we started off with 5 grams of copper, we can change copper to moles. So 1 mole copper, and then let's see, that's 63.55 grams of copper. We change that to moles, and we get 0.0787 moles of copper. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to find the simplest whole number mole ratio between the silver and the copper. So what you do to figure that out is you take the smallest number of moles and you divide it by itself. So I'm going to take the 0.0787. This is for the copper. And so I'm going to, and it's kind of important to label it. I noticed on the last test, some people didn't label it and got it mixed up. So you're going to divide that by itself. So that means 1 mole of copper. Let's do the silver now. So then you take the bigger number, 0.158, this is how we're going to find our ratio, divided by the smaller number of moles, 0.787, and that's approximately 2. And so now we know that it's 1 mole, so it's 1 mole of copper to 2 moles of silver. So if we go back and we look at our chemical equations, which one has a 1:2 ratio? Well, if you look right here, this equation right here, there's 1 mole of copper to 2 moles of silver. So we would be able to verify that this is the equation that actually happened if this was the data. And so that's what you're going to have to do in the lab. In the lab that we're doing, we're trying to do the lab between iron and copper sulfate. Any of these 3 equations can happen. So basically, you're just going to follow the procedure. Okay, you're going to decant the liquid. That is pouring the liquid out without pouring out the solid, kind of like when you make mac and cheese. Don't pour the macaroni out, but pour the water out. Okay, you're going to rinse it though, and this says to rinse it with 10. I'm going to cross that 10 off. You need to do a lot more than 10 milliliters of water. You need to do at least like 50 milliliters each time you rinse it. You can just approximate it. The water is in the milk jug, but you need to rinse it really well. To get good results, you have to rinse it well, okay? And make sure you rinse it a couple times. Okay, then you're going to set the beaker in the designated area That's going to be the drying oven. It's over by the fume hood. Okay, and then we'll have to finish this tomorrow. Okay, that's it.